Alrighty, welcome back to the study of Revelations 101. And we're going to continue. We're done with the study of the book of Daniel. Now, what I'd like to do to finish out the Old Testament is to go in with a few verses, well, quite a few long verses, describing the reign of the millennial reign of Christ. Not going to get too details. There's plenty of it in the Old Testament. I'm just trying to give you a start in your study to show there are answers to be found in the Old Testament as with the New Testament. Very important that you bring in the Old Testament with the New Testament. Always remember, the Old Testament is a foreshadowing of Christ. Once we get done here and you go back and start reading the Old Testament, you're going to see Jesus all the way through it where you've never seen it before. So that's one of my highlights. I just because that's what I went through. Once I did this study, then I went back reading, and it just started hitting me upside the head, left and right. My eyes were open to a lot of stuff, and I hope you will also. Now, like I say, tonight is just millennial reign of Christ. We're going to do the day of the Lord. I want to show you that that's a day of wrath, and we'll finish up with apostasy, how Satan counterfeits all aspects of God, and that should be an interesting study. And I say, then we'll go into the New Testament. Then we won't spend much time there. We'll go through pretty quick, and then we'll get into the actual study of the book of Revelation. I'm just trying to give you some insight of things because with the millennial reign, it's not really specifically very depth in Revelation. It's just a couple verses. I just wanted to show you that you can go in and do your own research in the Old Testament and in the New Testament because we're going to cover some of the stuff when we get there. But my whole focus is the Old Testament. We'll finish up probably in two segments and then we'll be done. So let's get started. I'm not going to do too much commentary on the actual scriptures we're about to read. I'll let the Bible in itself, explain to you what is said. Just you may want to mark some of these scriptures down for future references. I'll say them pretty slow so you can have a chance to write them down if you need to. So let's get started, okay? The first one is going to be Isaiah chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and he shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plow shields, and their spears into pruning hooks, and nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Okay. And I just want to reemphasize, and many people shall go up and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. Very awesome. Okay. Isaiah chapter 11, verses 1 through 16. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, and shall make him quick understanding in the fear of the Lord, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equality for the meek of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed their young, and feed their young ones, and shall lie down together with the lion, shall eat straw like an ox. And the suckling child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hands on the cockatrice den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of knowledge of the Lord as the waters covered the sea. And in that day shall be the root of Jesse, which shall stand as an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand against us the second time to recover the remnant of his people, and shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he will set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah, and from the four corners of the earth. The envy of the Ephraim shall depart, and adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Palestinians toward the west, and they shall spoil them of the east together. And they shall lay their hands upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. With his mighty wind shall he make his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod. And there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and as it was to Israel in the days that he came up out of the land of Egypt. Okay, Isaiah chapter 65, verses 19 through 25. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem in the joy of my people, and the voice of weeping shall no more be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that has not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, and the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and my elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. While they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and the dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord. Okay, Jeremiah chapter 23, verses 3 through 6. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. And in his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name, whereby shall be called the Lord our righteousness. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 31 through 40. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I had made with their fathers in the days that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, saith the Lord, for I will forgive them their iniquities, and I will remember their sin no more. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea, which the waves thereof roar, the Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith the Lord, if heaven can be measured in the fountains of the earth, or foundations of the earth, searches out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that the city shall be built to the Lord from the tower of Hananel unto the gate of the corner, and the measuring line shall yet go forth against it upon the hill Gareb and the compass about to Goath, and the whole valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes, and of all the fields unto the brook of Kindron, unto the corner of the horse gate toward the sea shall be holy unto the Lord. It shall not be plucked up nor thrown down any more. Okay, Ezekiel chapter 34, verses 23 through 31. And I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David. He shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. And I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David a prince among them. I am the Lord, have spoken of it, and I will make with them a covenant of peace, and shall cause the evil beast to cease out of the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the woods. And I will make them in the places round about my hill a blessing, and I will cause a shower to come down in his season, and there shall be showers of blessing. And the trees of the field shall yield her fruit, and the earth shall yield her increase, and they shall be safe in the land, and they shall know that I am the Lord, when I have broken the bands of their yoke and delivered them out of the hands of those that serve themselves of them. And they shall no more be a prey to the heathen, neither shall the beast of the land devour them, and they shall dwell safely, and none shall make them afraid. And I will raise up for them a plant of renown, and they shall be no more consumed with hunger in the land, neither bear the shame of the heathen any more. Thus shall they know that I am the Lord their God, am with them, and that they, even the house of Israel, are my people, saith the Lord God. And ye, my flock, the flock of my pasture, are men, and I am your God and the Lord God. All righty, let's go to Zechariah. We're going to do 1 through 23. Whew, a lot of reading. But I want you to be well informed of what's going to happen. God is going to bless the nation of Israel, and she's not going to be in fear, well taken care of, and he's really going to watch after her. Okay, Zechariah chapter 8, verses 1 to 23. Again, the word of the Lord of hosts came to me, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Zion in great jealousy, and I was jealous for her with great fury. Thus saith the Lord, I am returned unto Zion, and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth, and the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, there shall yet old men and old women dwell in the street of Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand for very age. And the streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the street thereof. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, if it be marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of this people in these days, should it be marvelous in my eyes, saith the Lord of hosts. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country. I will bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God in truth and in righteousness. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong, that ye bear in these days these words by the mouth of the prophets, which were in the days that the foundation of the house of the Lord of hosts was laid, and that the temple might be built. For before these days there was no higher man nor any higher beast, neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. For I set all men every one against his neighbor. But now I will not be unto the residue of this people as in the former days, saith the Lord of hosts. From the seed shall be prosperous, the vine shall give her fruit, and the ground shall give her increase, and the heavens shall give their due, and I will cause a remnant of this people to possess all these things. And it shall come to pass that as ye were a curse among the heathen, O house of Judah and house of Israel, so will I save you, and ye shall be a blessing. Fear not, but let your hands be strong. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, as I thought to punish you when your fathers provoked me to wrath, saith the Lord of hosts, and I repented not. So again I have brought in these days to do well unto Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. Fear ye not, for are the things that ye shall do. Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. And let none of you imagine evil in your hearts against his neighbor, and love no false oath. For all these things, for all these are things I hate, saith the Lord. And the word of the Lord of hosts came unto me, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness and cheerful feast. Therefore love the truth and peace. Thus saith the Lord, it shall yet come to pass that there shall come people and the inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of one city shall go to another, saying, let us go speedily to pray before the Lord and seek the Lord of hosts. I will go also. Yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem and pray before the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all the languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Zechariah chapter 14, verses 1 through 21. Behold, the days of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the days of battle, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountain shall reach unto Azel. Yea, ye shall flee like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, nor day nor night, but it shall come to pass. And it shall be in that day that living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In summer and winter shall it be. The Lord shall be the king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. And the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower Hananeel unto the king's wine presses. And the men shall dwell in it, and there should be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one of the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver and apparel in great abundance. And so shall the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to feed and keep the feast of tabernacles. And if the family, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, and have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come up, that not will smite the heathen that come up not to keep the feast of tabernacles. This shall be punishment of Egypt, and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. And in that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto the Lord, and the pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, not every pot in Jerusalem and in Judea shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and see therein that in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Now I'm going to stop there. That's just a few scriptures. Hopefully, shows you God had a plan. And in the Old Testament, there is wealth of knowledge for you to understand that so much has been prophesied by the Lord through the prophets of what is yet to come in the latter days and in the time of tribulation. Also, the millennial reign. It's just amazing to see all this take place. And like I said, there's wealth of knowledge in the Old Testament. Remember, the Old Testament is foreshadowing of Christ. Whatever Christ was going to do from the time he was conceived until he was crucified and until the millennial reign, every bit of that was prophesied in the Old Testament. Now, when we get done with this study, now what I hope you will see is that when you go back and read in the Old Testament, you're going to be amazed of how much that you're going to see. You're going to read a lot of stuff, and you're going to see somewhere in a lot of these stories, Christ is somewhere in that. Some aspect of Christ. It's a foreshadowing of Christ and of his person, his ministry, of his kingdom, his kingship, all that. So I'm going to stop here. The next segment, what I'm going to do, be one more left, and we'll get into the New Testament. It's going to be the day of the Lord and apostasy, how Satan counterfeits the aspects of Christ. So I'm going to say farewell. I love you, and I will see you in the next segment. And boy, there's a lot of reading. So God bless.